Or as it says in the program, everybody came up and said, Greg, glad you're here. And I wondered if this was the part of the program where, in fact, I pause and see who comes up and talk about me. Yeah, this would be most.
Are you here?
Yeah. So, in memoriam, Greg Peterson, co-founder. Honestly, I'm privileged, and thank you, Krista, for inviting me to do this. It's that point of the program historically in the Jackson Society dinners of times past where it's bittersweet. It really is bittersweet to pause and to reflect on the lives of those who are no longer with us, but we're celebrating lives of people who we're standing on their shoulders. And Kristen said keep it to 5 minutes, and I respect her saying that to me. Yes. But I do have, one of the things I do as a force of habit, I guess, when somebody passes that has had some effect on the Jackson Center and therefore indirectly me, I give them memorials. I mean, that's just what I do. That's also one way for me to keep track who passed this past year. And so I'm going to try to do this in a very rapid fire manner, but there are those who, some of the names you will know, some of which you will not know, but all of which we're here today because of them. We really are, and I guess I have the privilege of being there at the beginning, so I guess I have a story, a little bit to say, but I'll make it quick. Some of those, we were kids. We had nothing. We didn't know what we were doing. And Arnie reminds me how much we were young at the time. But things like people like Sheila Eagleson. Sheila Eagleson, you may never know, but she did all of our printing for next to nothing when we got started. We've had events here of which people have stepped forward and ultimately become contributors. Such as we had an event honoring Attica. It was the Attica prison. It was the 50th anniversary of the Attica prison riot. And so we had people. We had people here. And I wondered who were some of them that were there. And two have passed away who actually raised their hands. Herb Siegel. Herb Siegel, a very well-known Buffalo attorney who became a friend of the Jackson Center and a friend of Chautauqua as well, raised his hand. He said, I was a young intern. I was a young intern when things happened in Attica. And my job ultimately became to be William Kunstler. So Herb Siegel's job early on was driving William Kunstler around. Paul Webb, one other person who passed away, intimately involved in the Jamestown Bar Association, but became an investigator on behalf of the prisoners who we needed representation, and it was Paul Webb. We've had a few people pass away who were programmatic to us here. We've had many people. In fact, I was sharing with Professor Barrett over our long-standing opportunities of speakers here. Very few have actually been paid. They've actually required or wanted an honorarium. They've given their time not because I asked them, but because it's Jackson. And a couple of those passed away this year. I want to pause. We have a young readers program here, which is well known in our Jackson Center. It's one of our standard bearers. But in the beginning, there was a beginning. We had Jerry Spinelli came, and with him spoke Helen Fagan. Helen Fagan died this past year at 101. She was the Holocaust survivor, Warsaw Ghetto, and she was here because she's on the United States War Memorial Committee with Raleigh Kidder. I was kind of hoping Raleigh would be here tonight. She was an original. So when you go and see the World War II Museum, or the War Museum down there, that's Raleigh Kidder, Helen Fagan. She was here year one, which launched us in our whole Young Readers program. Another person just passed away, Robert Kruger, Ambassador Robert Kruger. He was here at our second International Humanitarian Law Dialogues, and he spoke eloquently. He's a former United States Senator from Texas, and a close friends with Dale Robbins, and he brought Ambassador Kruger here to talk about genocide, and things that were happening in Sierra Leone and Rwanda that ultimately impacted where he was in fact the ambassador. We had a couple of friends passed away, their husband and wife, Fran and Tom Galbato. Fran Galbato was docent one. In the days when Raleigh and Carroll, Drake, we didn't know where we were going, but we didn't want to deal with visitors all the time. Fran Galbato, who owned Berjonas. These were the people at Berjonas Farm. Great interest in history. She became close friends with Raleigh, and as a result, she became docent one. And so many things that we have around here that are now covered up by nice glossy walls and everything like that. She did, Fran, and she, together with her husband, Tom, who became co-conspirators on our behalf, in fact, took some road shows. We were again given some opportunities to have loaned from the Jackson family chairs. The Robert H. Jackson Supreme Court chair, the Robert H. Jackson Solicitor General's chair, and paintings of Jackson. The family gave to us, but they were sitting in either New Jersey or a long ways away. And we had to figure out how to get them here. They got on, just simply said, we're going to get them. So they made several trips on our behalf, the Galbatos. We're in a building that was owned by the Scottish Rite Consistory. And they had this place for, from 1920 forward. We bought it in 2000. And we had a relationship with them, which we had to deal with. And it was mostly beneficial for us. But there were some tough times just negotiating to make sure we had a place upstairs for Don Workman to realize his dream of that second floor and the moving of all the offices upstairs. But we had to have them vacate. And the guy that was instrumental and passed away this past year was Steve Whitaker. And the reason I'm saying all of these various names is the fact that hopefully I'm going to use this and send it to the family members and the variety of the Masons who made an extraordinary effort to get out 3 years early, Don, just so we could do what we were doing upstairs and to make you happy. So that was what happened. Another great opportunity we had at Chautauqua Institution, working with the Everett Jewish Life Center. And, some of you may remember Gabriel Bach. Gabriel Bach, who was a prosecutor of Adolf Eichmann, passed away this year. I got to tell you what a thrill for me, for John, and others to be in his presence. He was here for a week, and we worked him. We really did work Gabriel Bach and his wife Ruthie, and there couldn't have been more splendid. But it really put us on the map at Chautauqua. The largest crowds they ever had at the Everett Jewish Life Center was because we had Gabriel Bach. The Robert Jackson statue, you looked at it, you probably saluted when you were here. That wasn't here at the beginning. In the beginning of our life, that didn't exist. That was down on 8th Street as part of the Jamestown High School in front of Love School. And they're created through the Gabby Foundation, through John Hamilton. That's where it stood for other reasons, because we didn't exist. Everybody said, why isn't it here, why isn't it here? Well, one fateful time, Cindy and I, we were, our car didn't start. So we're stuck in Fredonia, and Tim Maines, who was the superintendent of schools, was a good sport and said, I'll drive you home. Our car, we left abandoned in Fredonia. And so along the way, we talked to him about the possibility of moving the statue. He goes, it really needs a lot of support. I mean, it really needs help, because he goes, you probably wish you didn't have it, Tim. Well, long story short, and I know Tom, so many people here that have stories, backstories behind all that. We got it. And we raised a ton of money to move it to here, so now people assume that statue was part of it. Tim passed away this past year. Suzanne Deckers. Doug, he lost a friend, a close wife, and Suzanne Deckers was always at Doug's side and was a moderating force for Doug, and that we all appreciated. And I can't tell you that all of us are lucky to have wonderful spouses, but Doug was especially lucky to have Suzanne, and so he misses her, we miss her, and she's somebody who passed away this past year, and she was just right there in lockstep with Doug. Bill Klinger. I see Allie Russell there, and one of the things that I had much fun doing, a couple times, because Mark Russell was always gracious in donating his time. I think he was gracious, happy to do this, donating his time to put on fundraisers for the Jackson Center, which were hugely successful. But what we would do, because it's, guess what, it's political satire. And there was Stan Lundeen right there, and Bill Klinger, Mr. Democrat from Jamestown area, Bill Klinger from Warren. They'd go on radio and just talk and plug us. And they did it several times. And I would thank to Stan, thanks certainly to Mark, but Bill Klinger was likewise from our friends in Warren, just right there all the time. And so I want to just pause and thanks Bill Klinger and his family. My time is running out, and I will wrap up, but not without speaking about John Anderson. John Anderson passed away, and John, we all have wonderful stories about it, but he's the consummate board member. And very proud of the fact that he was part of and contributed to several philanthropic organizations in our area, and we're blessed to be one of them. And I know we got people from Chautauqua Foundation, Chautauqua Institution, and other foundations of which John was a part. John was a board member for many, many years, and if I could magically show, and the perfect thing to end a necrology report would be to show John Anderson right here in a photo walking arm in arm with Sandra Day O'Connor. It's our iconic photo at the Robert Jackson Center. John dressed to the nines, as he did, and then Justice O'Connor, they were just kind of in step. She's smiling to beat the band, and of course, John, was right with her. And that was the magic of John. It's also the magic of so many people that we stand on the shoulders of now. And I'm just so thrilled, and thank you for permitting me to come up and talk about celebration and not listen to an in memoriam.